Yesterday evening, late at night, I received an email from someone who had gotten a press release of mine, a statement about the Israeli military's attack on the flotilla of peace activists who were sailing to Gaza to bring humanitarian supplies to the people in Gaza who've been encircled and under a blockade for many, many months. And the person in the email said, or asked, what kind of a Jew am I? Meaning, what kind of a Jew am I? And so I wanted to briefly reply to that. The first thing is, I'm a Jew whose father was born in then Palestine and fought in the War of Independence in the underground, and whose family lives in Israel. Half of my family lives there. I am a Jew who spent 7 years living in Israel in the 1970s. I am a Jew who saw the death of a cousin in the 1973 war. I am a Jew who has seen many, many other people die. I've been to funerals of people who died way too young. I'm also an American, and as an American, I want my government to stand for justice and for a kind of policy that makes sense in the world. And so when I went to the demonstration yesterday in Times Square, which was a spontaneous demonstration of people who came from all corners of the city and probably from outside the city to speak up and to demand some justice, to demand that our government stand up and condemn what I thought was, at the very least, a foolish attack and an unjustified attack, an attack on a group of ships that were in international waters. And in my view, were no threat to Israel. They were sailing to Gaza to bring humanitarian supplies. Stand up to the tragedy of the attack on essentially civilians who were trying to do the human thing, which is to try to aid the people of Gaza who have been under an illegal blockade for many, many months. And the effect on that, on the people of Gaza, has been devastating. And I think the attack on that flotilla was just an outrage. And I'm here both as a Jew and as a candidate for office to say this was an outrage, and the United States has to condemn this in no uncertain terms. And I believe as an American that we must tell our government that in some way our government bears responsibility for that attack. Yes, Israel conducted that attack, but many months ago you may remember that I called the United States government to demand that Israel end the blockade against Gaza, a blockade that is against, I believe, international law, because it enforces collective punishment on a civilian population, which is against international law. Had the United States demanded from Israel that we end the blockade against Gaza, that Israel end the blockade against Gaza, this whole flotilla of ships would not have been necessary, and we would not be in the mess that we found ourselves in the last 24 hours. But I am also a citizen of the world. And as a United States congressman, I intend on pushing for a policy on the part of our government, on the part of the Congress that represents the people, a policy that first and foremost understands that we cannot use war as a tool of trying to resolve conflict. Not only does it waste a whole lot of money, think of the trillions of dollars that we've wasted in Iraq and Afghanistan, money that should be used here at home for schools and roads and clean energy and all sorts of good human needs. But from a moral standpoint, war is not going to solve conflicts between countries. The death and destruction that has come from the conflict in the Middle East between the Palestinians and the Israelis can only be solved if the United States takes an even-handed approach, breaks from the past of having what I believe is a one-sided approach to the conflict, and brings the parties together as equal participants so that we can have a lasting peace in the Middle East, end the bloodshed there, and thereby have a much more secure world for everyone.